The first thing I noticed wasn't the smoke. It was the smell, sharp and wrong, like burnt plastic and something oily creeping under my bedroom door at exactly 2 in the morning. For a second, my brain tried to negotiate with it. Maybe it's the HVAC, maybe the neighbor's grill, maybe I'm dreaming. Then the smoke alarm shrieked downstairs. Not one polite chirp, full panic, the kind that doesn't stop. I slid out of bed, and the floor felt colder than it should have, like the house was holding its breath. When I opened my bedroom door, the hallway looked hazy, and the air hit the back of my throat. I didn't grab clothes. I didn't grab my laptop. I didn't grab Grandpa's framed photo from the dresser. I grabbed my keys and my phone because they were right there, and because those are the two things you can't replace with a wish. By the time I hit the stairs, the smoke got thicker. I could hear something crackling, tiny pops at first, then a deeper sound like wood settling the wrong way. My hand found the banister and I started down, one step at a time, trying not to breathe too hard. I remember thinking, absurdly, I just paid my homeowner's insurance. Halfway down, I saw a flicker of orange through the doorway to the kitchen. It wasn't contained. It wasn't a small fire. It was moving. I turned, sprinted back up, and went for the guest room window because it was closest to the driveway and the easiest drop. I shoved the window open. Cold air slammed into my face, and for a split second, I hesitated. Because leaving through a window feels like admitting you've lost control of your own house. Then the smoke alarm changed pitch, like it was screaming louder on purpose. Oh, and my body decided for me. I climbed out, dropped onto the porch roof below, slipped once, caught myself, and slid down hard enough to bruise my hip. I hit the ground, stumbled, and ran barefoot into the driveway. The night was so still it felt fake. Then my front windows glowed. I called 911 with shaking fingers and an oddly steady voice. I gave my address. I told them I was out. I told them the house was on fire. The dispatcher kept asking questions, and I kept answering, staring at the home Grandpa left me like it was a living thing being taken apart in front of me. When the first engine came down the street, the lights painted my trees red and blue. The sirens were loud enough to shake my chest. 2 firefighters jumped out, and one of them pulled me farther back without asking. "Ma'am, back." Now. I nodded like a robot and let them move me because I didn't want to be the person who gets in the way while her own life burns. Neighbors started appearing in robes and jackets, drawn outside by noise and fear. Someone handed me a blanket. Someone asked if I was okay. I said yes, because it was easier than explaining that I didn't know what okay meant anymore. The hoses started. The front door was forced. People shouted in short phrases that sounded like another language. The house groaned, deep, low, and a part of me wanted to run forward and stop it the way you stop a fight. You can't stop fire with your hands. 20 minutes later, maybe 30, the crackling dulled and the orange glow dimmed. Steam rose into the night like the house was exhaling. That was when headlights swept across the driveway. A familiar SUV rolled to a stop, or too fast, like whoever was driving wanted to be seen arriving. My sister stepped out, one hand pressed to her mouth, the other already reaching toward me as if she could pull me into a performance we'd rehearsed. "Oh my God," she said, eyes wide. "Oh my God, are you okay?" Her voice trembled in the right places. Her face did a convincing version of shock, but her hair was done. Her coat was buttoned perfectly. She didn't look like someone who'd been woken up by an emergency. She looked like someone who'd been waiting for one. "I got your alert," she said quickly, "from the neighborhood app. I came as soon as I saw it." I didn't answer right away. My teeth were chattering, and I told myself it was the cold. My sister's gaze kept darting to the house, too sharp, too focused, like she was counting what was left. Then she looked back at me and repeated, softer this time, like a spell. It was an accident. Fires happen. It was an accident. That word hit me harder than the siren. Accident. My sister had hated that Grandpa left the house to me. She'd said it wasn't fair. She'd said I was the responsible one, so I always get rewarded. She'd said the house should have been sold and split. She'd said that at Thanksgiving 2 years ago with a smile that never reached her eyes. Now she stood in my driveway with steam still rising and told me, over and over, that it was an accident. I kept my face neutral because I learned a long time ago that reacting to her was like bleeding near sharks. A firefighter approached, helmet under one arm, face streaked with soot. "Ma'am," he said, calm and tired, "we got it knocked down. Yeah, we're checking for hot spots." I nodded. "Thank you." He glanced at my sister, then back to me. "Do you live alone?" "Yes." He took a small notepad from his pocket. "Any candles, space heaters, anything running?" "No," I said. "Nothing like that." My sister jumped in too fast. "She's careful," she said. She's always careful." The firefighter's eyes narrowed slightly, not accusing, just noting. He wrote something down anyway. Then another man walked up. No helmet this time, just a heavy jacket with a county patch and a clipboard tucked under his arm. He wasn't in a hurry. He wasn't loud. He looked like someone who arrives after the adrenaline when the truth matters. "Miss Pierce?" he asked, reading from his clipboard. "That's me," I said automatically, still wrapped in a neighbor's blanket, barefoot on cold concrete. He held out a business card. "Fire Marshal Evan Klein. I'm going to need to ask you a few questions and take some information." My sister straightened as if the title alone offended her. Marshal Klein's gaze flicked to her. "And you are?" "My sister," she said, placing a hand on my shoulder like she belonged there. "I'm here to help." Marshal Klein didn't react to the claim. He turned back to me. "Do you have any security cameras, smart devices, alarm system?" I swallowed. "Yes, a smart lock, and a doorbell camera." He nodded once, like that mattered more than anything else he'd heard so far. "Good." My sister's hand tightened on my shoulder. Why would that matter? It's an accident. Marshal Klein finally looked at her directly, voice still calm, because accidents don't usually trigger what I'm seeing inside. My sister blinked. "What are you seeing?" He didn't answer her. He addressed me again. "I'm going to do an origin assessment. It'll take a few hours. By morning, I'll have a preliminary report." My throat tightened. "A report?" "Yes," he said. "And I'll need access to the smart lock history and your camera footage. Don't delete anything." I nodded. "I won't." My sister let out a small, shaky laugh. "This is ridiculous. It's just, she's unlucky. Grandpa left her the house, and now—" Her words slipped, and her eyes flicked to mine like she'd said too much. Marshal Klein's expression didn't change, but his tone did. Not dramatic, just precise. "Your grandfather left you this house," he said to me. "So you're the sole owner." "Yes," I said. He wrote something down. Then he lowered his clipboard slightly and said, "All right, here's what I'm going to do." He reached into his jacket and pulled out a one-page form with an incident number at the top, fresh and clean against the soot and steam of the night. He tore off a copy and handed it to me. A tangible thing, a record. Then he added, "And when I come back with the preliminary in the morning, there's one detail I'm going to point to first, because it explains why your sister keeps calling this an accident." My sister went still, not shocked, still, caught still. By the time the sun came up, my house didn't look like my house anymore. It looked like a crime scene that had started as a home. Yellow tape cut across my front walk. Fans hummed inside, pushing the smoke smell out in slow, stubborn waves. A restoration crew stood by their truck, waiting for permission they didn't have yet. I sat on the curb across the street with a paper cup of coffee I couldn't taste, and that incident form folded in my hand like it was the only solid thing left. My sister paced behind me, wrapped in her own coat, phone pressed to her ear. "I'm telling you, it was an accident," she said, loud enough for me to hear. "She probably left something on. She's been stressed." "Yeah, no, she's fine." She ended the call and crouched next to me, forcing her voice soft. I told Mom and Dad not to freak out. I'm handling it. I didn't look at her. I didn't ask you to. Her eyes narrowed for a flash, then she smoothed it away. I'm just trying to help. A county SUV rolled up and parked near the tape. Fire Marshal Klein stepped out with a clipboard and a small evidence bag in his hand. He wasn't rushed. He wasn't theatrical. Wayne, he just looked tired in the way people look when they've seen too many accidents. He walked straight to me. "Ms. Pierce," he said, "I've got your preliminary." My sister stood up fast. Finally. Klein didn't acknowledge her tone. He handed me a few stapled pages. The top sheet had a header, an incident number, and a block of plain language that hit harder than any siren had last night. Cause. Incendiary. Human-caused. Area of origin. Rear kitchen. / utility entry. No forced entry observed. My throat tightened, but my voice stayed even. Incendiary. Klein nodded once. Yes. My sister laughed. One sharp, disbelieving burst. That's ridiculous. Klein's eyes went to her for the first time. It means this didn't start on its own. She lifted her hands. Now you can't know that already. I don't need a full lab report to tell you what I saw, he said calmly. This is a preliminary, but it's not a guess. I stared at the words. No forced entry observed until they blurred. Klein continued, talking to me, not to her. You said you have a smart lock and a doorbell camera. Yes. I need the access history, he said, and I need the footage from last night, from midnight to after you exited. I nodded, already unlocking my phone. My fingers didn't feel clumsy. They felt precise. Like my body understood this was paperwork now. The smart lock app loaded and showed a timeline. I'd never cared about it beyond the occasional door locked notification. Now I scrolled like my life depended on it because it did. There it was, time-stamped, clean, impossible to argue with. 1:47 a.m. Keypad entry, code 4, 1:48 a.m. Door opened, 1:51 a.m. Door closed, 1:52 a.m. Manual lock engaged. My heart didn't race. It dropped. Because code 4 had a name. I tapped into the code list, and the label appeared. Mila, my sister's name. She stopped breathing for a second, not a sobbing kind of stop, a calculating one, like her brain was already looking for the nearest exit. That's, she began. Klein leaned in slightly, not aggressive, just attentive. That code belongs to you? My sister's eyes flicked to me, then to the street, then back to Klein. I had a code once for emergencies. She gave it to me years ago. I kept my voice flat. I forgot it was still active. Mila's face tightened like she wanted to punish me for that sentence. So, that doesn't mean anything. Codes get triggered. Apps glitch. Klein didn't argue. He just held his hand out. May I photograph that screen for the report? I turned my phone so he could see it and held it steady. He snapped a photo with a small work phone, then asked, "Do you have the doorbell footage?" I opened my camera app and pulled the timeline to the same window. At 1:46, my porch was empty. Street quiet. Porch light steady. At 1:49, headlights swept across my driveway. Slow, deliberate, like someone trying not to draw attention. At 1:50, the motion sensor triggered again. A figure moved near the side gate, hood up, face angle down. But the vehicle was clear enough. An SUV with a distinctive roof rack. Mila's SUV. I didn't have to say it out loud. The footage did. Mila leaned forward too fast, voice suddenly bright. That could be anybody's SUV. Klein's tone stayed calm. The footage, combined with the smart lock entry under your code, is significant. Mila's lips parted. Closed. She tried a different angle, softer this time, like she was soothing a child. Okay, she said, looking at me. Maybe I came by. Maybe I was worried. I saw smoke. I panicked. You didn't call me, I said quietly. She blinked. What? If you were worried, I said, why didn't you call me? Her eyes flashed. Because I was driving. Because I was trying to get here. Klein cut in, still not loud. Ms. Pierce, do you have any reason your sister would be on your property at that hour? I swallowed once. She's been angry since Grandpa left me the house. Mila scoffed. Oh my God, Klein made a note. And is she on the deed? No, I said. That was the moment I saw the fear underneath Mila's performance. Not fear for me, fear for herself. Because now the report didn't just say incendiary, it said incendiary plus no forced entry plus sister's access code used. Klein looked at me again. I'm going to submit this preliminary today. Your insurance company will likely open a special investigation because of the cause classification. That's standard. Mila jumped in immediately, too eager. Yes, insurance needs to know she's careless. She leaves stuff on... Klein's gaze snapped to her, sharp but controlled. Ma'am, stop. Mila froze. Klein turned back to me. Don't let anyone enter the structure. Don't let anyone remove items. If a contractor shows up, tell them they need clearance. This matters now. I nodded. Okay. He handed me a card. If your insurer calls, you tell them to request my preliminary and you provide the smart lock history. Keep copies. Keep timestamps. I took the card with a steady hand. Mila's voice was smaller now. This is insane. You're actually going to let them treat me like a suspect. I finally looked at her. I'm going to let them treat the facts like facts. Her face went pale in a way that didn't look like shock. It looked like the moment she realized the story she'd practiced. Accident, accident, accident couldn't survive a timestamp. And right then, as if the universe wanted to prove Klein's point about insurance, my phone lit up with an incoming call from an unfamiliar number. A calm voice said, Ms. Pierce, this is the claims unit. We need to ask you a few questions about the fire. Mila's eyes locked on my screen like she could will me not to answer, and I answered the call with my eyes still on Mila's face. Hello? A calm voice said, Ms. Pierce? This is Dana with Horizon Mutual Claims. I'm assigned to your fire loss. First, are you safe right now? Yes, I said. I'm outside. I'm not in the house. Good, Dana replied. I'm going to ask some standard questions. Please answer as clearly as you can. What time did you first notice smoke? 2 a.m, I said, right after I woke up. Any candles, space heaters, cooking, electrical issues recently? No. Any recent renovations, contractors, or work done near the kitchen or utility entry? No. I could hear her typing. Fast, practiced. Do you have a copy of the fire marshal's preliminary? I do, I said. He classified it as incendiary. There was a brief pause. Not surprise. Procedure. Okay, Dana said carefully. Now, when a fire is classified as incendiary, we place the claim under enhanced review. That doesn't mean you did anything wrong. It means we preserve evidence and limit access to the file. Mila let out a small scoff behind me, like she wanted Dana to hear it through the phone. Dana continued, Who has keys or access to your home? I didn't look at Mila when I answered. I have a smart lock. My sister had a keypad code from years ago. I didn't realize it was still active. Dana's voice tightened. Do you have lock history showing use of that code during the window in question? Yes, I said. Keypad entry just before 2 a.m. Do you have camera footage that corroborates activity at the property? Yes. Doorbell motion events. Okay, Dana said. I need you to preserve that data. Do not edit it. Do not clip it. Save the raw files if you can. We'll send you a secure link to upload. I opened my email app with my free hand. I'm ready. Dana said, I'm creating your claim now. You'll get a claim number in the next minute. Also, because of the incendiary classification and third-party access concerns, this file will be handled with our Special Investigations Unit involved. You may hear it called SIU. Again, standard. Mila's accident mask slipped a little. She took a step closer, as if she could physically lean into the call and steer it. Dana asked, "Any threats? Any disputes over the property? Anyone who would benefit from damage to the structure?" My throat tightened, but I didn't let it turn into drama. "My grandfather left me the house. My sister has resented it for years." Mila snapped, "That's not—" I held up a hand without looking at her. Not to silence her, to keep myself steady. Dana's typing resumed. "Understood. And are you the sole named insured on the policy?" "Yes." "Okay," Dana said. "I'm going to put a contact restriction on the claim file. Only you. No changes without voice verification." I exhaled slowly. "Thank you." Then Dana added, almost casually, "That's actually why I'm calling you directly, Ms. Pierce." My stomach went still. "We received a call earlier this morning," she said, "from someone claiming to be you. They asked to be added as an authorized contact and requested we send claim communications to a different mailing address." Mila froze so hard it looked like her joints locked. I kept my voice flat. "What address?" Dana read it out. And the same rented mailbox-style address Marshall Klein had warned me about. Street number formatting meant to fool automated systems. "And the authorized contact requested?" I asked, already knowing. Dana didn't hesitate. "A woman named Mila Pierce." Mila's mouth opened, closed. Then she let out a breathy laugh that sounded like it was supposed to be disbelief, but came out as panic. "That's insane." Dana's tone stayed calm. "Ms. Pierce, for the record, was that you?" "No," I said. "I want that noted as an attempted impersonation." "It already is," Dana replied. "Our system flagged it because the voice didn't match prior calls and because the request came before we even reached you." Mila stepped closer to me, lowering her voice like she was trying to sound reasonable. "You can't let some random call ruin my name." I didn't answer her, so I focused on Dana. "What do you need from me right now?" I asked. "Two things," Dana said. "First, an emailed copy of the fire marshal's preliminary and your proof of ownership. Second, your doorbell footage and smart lock history uploaded through our secure portal." "I can do that today," I said. "Good," Dana replied. "And because there was an impersonation attempt, SIU will want a recorded statement. It's not an interrogation. It's a formal account with timestamps. They may ask for the names of anyone with access." Mila's eyes darted to her car, then back to me. Dana continued, "Do you have somewhere safe to stay tonight?" "Yes," I said. "A friend offered a spare room." "Okay. Also," Dana added, "do not allow anyone, family included, to remove items from the home. To contents movement can compromise the origin investigation." I glanced at the yellow tape, the quiet house behind it, the windows blackened like bruises. "Understood." Dana said, "I'm sending your claim number and upload link now." My phone buzzed with the new email before we even hung up. Claim confirmation, a case number, a timestamp, a note. Contact restrictions active. It wasn't emotional, it was protective. Dana finished. "Ms. Pierce, SIU will call you within the hour to schedule the recorded statement. If anyone contacts us again claiming to be you, we'll document it and notify you." "Thank you," I said. We ended the call. For a moment, the street noise felt too normal. Birds, a passing delivery truck, a neighbor opening a car door. Mila stared at me like I'd just pulled a trapdoor under her. "You told them my name," she hissed. "Oh, I answered a question," I said evenly. "You're the one who put your name on my lock code." Her face flushed. "That code doesn't prove anything. I could have been checking on you." "Then why didn't you call me?" I asked again, quieter this time. "Before you typed my name into my insurance claim." Mila's eyes flicked away. Marshall Klein walked back toward us, clipboard tucked under his arm, and I met him halfway. I didn't need to spill feelings. I needed to update the record. Horizon Mutual says someone called pretending to be me, I told him. They tried to change my mailing address and add my sister as a contact. Klein's expression tightened, just slightly. That's consistent with what we see when someone wants to control the paper trail. He looked at my phone. Do you have the claim confirmation email? Yes, I said. When I opened it so he could see the subject line and the timestamp, he nodded once. Screenshot that. Save it. Email it to yourself. I already did, I said. Klein's gaze moved to Mila, and his voice stayed professional. Ma'am, I need you to answer one question directly. Did you come to this property last night? Mila's chin lifted. No. Klein didn't argue. He just tapped his clipboard. Your code shows keypad entry. Your vehicle appears on video. Your denial will be noted. Mila's face went pale in a way that wasn't performative anymore. It was logistical, like she was calculating what a denial costs once it's written down. Then she tried to pivot. Her favorite move. She turned to me, voice suddenly sweet. Okay, fine. Let's not do this out here. Let's go inside. Or I'll help you grab your important things. Klein's head turned immediately. No one goes inside. Mila's smile twitched. She needs clothes. She can get what she needs with an approved escort after documentation, Klein said. Not now. Mila's eyes flashed with frustration, and for the first time, I saw what she really wanted. Not to help me, but to touch the scene before anyone else could. To remove something, to clean up, to make the report harder. Klein looked at me again. I'm submitting the preliminary today. An investigator from the arson unit will likely be assigned once the lab confirms the accelerant indicator. The word accelerant landed like a weight. Mila's breath caught. Klein wasn't watching her performance anymore. He was watching her body language. Then his phone buzzed. He checked it, and his face sharpened. Ms. Pierce, he said, lowering his voice. The lab tech just confirmed ignitable liquid residue at the area of origin. Mila took a half step back without meaning to. Klein added, and I've been asked to secure your camera footage as evidence. That means law enforcement will want to speak to anyone with access codes. Mila swallowed hard. Klein's eyes moved to her, and he said the sentence that made her look like the blood drained out of her face in one clean pull. Ma'am, don't leave. An arson investigator is on the way, and they're going to want your phone. Mila's eyes went straight to her car. Not to me. Not to the house. Not to the yellow tape. To her exit. I'm not staying, she said quickly, already backing up. This is ridiculous. You people are overreacting. Marshal Klein didn't raise his voice. He just shifted his stance. Subtle and practiced. So he was between her and the sidewalk. Ma'am, he said calm, you're not under arrest, but you are a person of interest in an arson investigation. Walking away right now is a bad choice. Mila's laugh came out thin. Person of interest? Because of a stupid door code? Klein held up his clipboard. Because of a time-stamped entry under your code, camera activity, and ignitable liquid residue at the area of origin. For a second, Mila looked like she might try the old tactic, turn it into a family fight. She turned to me instead. Tell him to stop. Tell him you don't want this. I didn't take the bait. I kept my eyes on Klein. What happens now? Klein's phone buzzed again. He checked it, then said, Investigator is 2 minutes out. Right on cue, an unmarked sedan rolled up and parked near the curb. Then a man in plain clothes stepped out. Jeans, a dark jacket, and a badge that he didn't flash dramatically. He wore it the way people wear something they don't need to prove. He walked over, nodded at Klein, then looked at me first. Ms. Pierce, he said. I'm Investigator Sean Alvarez, County Fire Investigation. His voice wasn't hard. It was procedural. Klein handed him the preliminary report and pointed at 2 lines on the top page. Alvarez skimmed, then glanced toward my kitchen side of the house, the utility entry that was now taped and soot-stained. Alvarez looked back at me. You're the homeowner. Yes. And your sister is Mila Pierce. Mila stiffened. Yes, and I didn't do anything. Alvarez didn't react to the denial. He asked a simpler question. Do you have her access code labeled in your lock app? Yes, I said, already opening my phone. Mila lunged verbally before I even turned the screen. That proves nothing. She gave me that code years ago. Alvarez held up a hand, not at me, at Mila. One at a time. I showed him the lock history, the exact sequence Klein had already photographed. Alvarez's eyes tracked the timestamps. Then he asked, You were asleep? Yes. Were you expecting her? No. He nodded once and turned slightly toward Klein. Get that into evidence. Then Alvarez looked at Mila. Where were you between 1:30 and 2:15 last night? Mila blinked. At home, sleeping. Alvarez didn't argue. He asked, Do you have anyone who can confirm that? My boyfriend, she said fast. What's his name? She hesitated, just long enough to feel the air change. Ty, she said. Tyler. Alvarez wrote it down on a small pad, then asked, Yun, did you come to this property last night? No, Klein spoke quietly. Her code shows entry. Mila snapped, App's glitch. Alvarez nodded like he'd heard a lot of people blame technology for their choices. Then he said, Okay, let's talk about the doorbell footage. I pulled up the timeline and scrubbed to the headlights, the motion trigger, the hooded figure near the side gate. I paused on the clearest frame. Alvarez leaned in, then pointed, not at the figure's face, but at the vehicle. That looks like an SUV with a roof rack, he said. It's hers, I said simply. Mila's voice rose. Lots of cars have roof racks. Alvarez didn't bite. He kept it boring. Boring was dangerous. Miss Pierce, he said to Mila, I'm going to ask for your phone. Mila's eyebrows shot up. Excuse me? Your phone, Alvarez repeated. If you were home sleeping, your location history and activity can help confirm that. If you were not, it becomes evidence. Either way, I need it preserved. Mila clutched her phone tighter. No, that's private. Alvarez's tone stayed even. You can hand it over voluntarily for preservation, or I can apply for a warrant. I'm not debating it on the curb. Her eyes flicked to me again, furious, as if I was the one asking. I'm not giving you my phone, she snapped. Alvarez nodded once, like that was a choice, not a win. Okay, he looked at Klein. I'll start the warrant request. Then he turned back to me. Ms. Pierce, did your insurer mention any unusual contact? Yes, I said. They told me someone called pretending to be me this morning, trying to change the mailing address and add Mila as a contact. Mila's face went tight. That's a lie. I didn't react. Then I opened my email and pulled up the claim confirmation Dana had sent me, the one with the timestamp and the line about contact restrictions. Alvarez leaned in. Do you have a note about the impersonation attempt? It's in the email thread, I said. And they told me SIU is involved. Alvarez exhaled slowly, then said, That matters. He turned to Mila again. You understand why this looks bad, right? Mila's voice went sharp. Because she's making it look bad. She's always... Alvarez cut her off, not harsh, just firm. Because we have a forced timeline. Your code at 147, a vehicle consistent with yours at 149, ignitable liquid at the origin, and an attempt to control the insurance file by adding yourself as a contact. Mila's mouth opened, then closed. Her confidence didn't shatter in a dramatic way. It thinned, and she tried to pivot again, softer. Okay, fine. Even if my code was used, someone could have stolen it. Someone could have guessed it. Alvarez nodded. Possible. Then he asked, So why did you tell your sister repeatedly within minutes of arriving that it was an accident, before the cause was determined? Mila went very still. She looked at me like she wanted me to rescue her with a fight. I didn't. Alvarez watched her silence and wrote something down. Klein stepped closer and spoke to me. Quiet. That's the detail I told you I'd point to first. My throat tightened, because she was trying to set the narrative. Klein nodded once. Alvarez looked at both of us. Here's what we're going to do. He spoke clearly like he'd said it 100 times. Your home remains secured. No one enters without documented escort. I'm filing a preservation request for your doorbell footage and smart lock logs so the companies keep the raw data. I'm initiating a warrant request for your sister's phone and any related account activity. And Ms. Pierce, he looked at Mila, you're going to come to the station today for a formal interview. You can come voluntarily, or we can do it the hard way. Mila swallowed. Her phone stayed in her hand like it had suddenly become heavy. She glanced toward the street again, then back at Alvarez's face, and for the first time, she looked less angry and more afraid of what paperwork can do when it stops being optional. Then she whispered, mostly to herself, it was supposed to be quick. Klein's pen paused. Alvarez's eyes narrowed. What was supposed to be quick, ma'am? Mila's head snapped up. Too late. Like she realized the words had already left her mouth. It was supposed to be quick. The words were barely louder than the morning wind, but they landed like a dropped plate. Everyone heard them. Investigator Alvarez didn't pounce. He just held still, like he didn't want to spook the truth back into hiding. What was supposed to be quick? He asked again, evenly. Mila's eyes went wide, then she forced a laugh that didn't reach her face. I'm talking about getting here. I came quick. Marshall Klein's pen didn't move. He looked at her like he'd seen that exact backpedal too many times. Alvarez nodded once. All right. We're done talking on the sidewalk. He turned to me. Ms. Pierce, do you have somewhere to go today? Somewhere safe? A friend, I said. I can go now. Good, he said. Don't go inside the house. And don't touch anything. If you need medication or essentials, we'll do a documented escort later. Then he looked back at Mila. You're coming in for an interview. Voluntarily. Mila's jaw clenched. I'm not going anywhere. This is harassment. She's doing this because Grandpa loved her more. Alvarez didn't react to the family angle. Ma'am, we have enough to preserve evidence. You can cooperate or we'll proceed without your cooperation. Your choice. For a second, Mila looked like she might run anyway. But she didn't. Not with Klein watching. Not with Alvarez already writing. Not with the yellow tape in my doorbell camera and that clean, time-stamped lock entry sitting in the world like a receipt. She exhaled hard and said, Fine. At the station, the interview room wasn't dramatic. Beige walls, a small table, 2 chairs. On a camera in the corner that didn't blink, Alvarez read her the basics in plain language. He didn't threaten. He didn't lecture. He just explained what voluntary meant and what it stopped being if she tried to leave mid-interview. Then he started with the simplest question again. Where were you between 1:30 and 2:15? At home, Mila said more carefully this time. He nodded. Okay, we'll check. He asked for her phone again. Mila hugged it to her chest. No. Alvarez didn't argue. He slid a single sheet across the table, just the top page of a warrant request packet, not even signed yet. You can hand it over now and avoid us taking it later, he said. Either way, your data doesn't disappear. It just becomes a bigger problem if we have to chase it. Mila stared at the paper, then at him. She finally shoved the phone onto the table like it burned her palm. Happy, she snapped. Alvarez didn't touch it with his bare hands. He pulled on gloves, powered it down, and sealed it in an evidence bag with a timestamp label. That was the moment her confidence cracked. Not because of emotion, but because she could feel the record closing around her. He laid out what he already had, one item at a time like building a shelf. The lock history photo Klein took, the doorbell clip screen capture, headlights, the side gate, a vehicle consistent with hers, the lab confirmation, ignitable liquid residue at the origin. Then he added the piece Mila didn't know existed, a claims log from Horizon Mutual. Not the whole file, just the contact attempt record with time and call routing details. Plain, administrative. And someone called Horizon Mutual this morning, Alvarez said, before the owner spoke to them. They attempted to change the mailing address and add an authorized contact. Mila scoffed. So? Someone's framing me. Alvarez slid the page closer. The insurer flagged the attempt because the caller failed verification. They preserved the call metadata. The request included your name. Mila's face went tight. That's not proof. It's a thread, he said calmly, and threads connect. He leaned back slightly. Tell me what you meant when you said it was supposed to be quick. Mila's mouth opened, then closed. She stared at the sealed phone bag like it could explain for her. I didn't do this, she said, but her voice sounded thinner now. I came because I saw smoke. Alvarez didn't raise his voice. He asked one more question, the one that made her swallow hard. Then why did you keep telling your sister it was an accident before any cause was determined? Mila's eyes flicked to mine for the first time that day, like she wanted me to bail her out with a fight. I didn't, because this wasn't about winning, it was about stopping. 2 hours later, Alvarez walked me through what came next, in the same tone you'd use explaining a schedule. My house stayed secured, no entry without a documented escort. Horizon Mutual's SIU took my recorded statement and accepted my footage through their secure portal. Raw files, unedited, time-stamped. They issued a temporary living expense authorization for me that same afternoon. A hotel, basic necessities, nothing glamorous. Just enough to keep me from falling apart while my home was being treated like evidence. And before I left the station, Alvarez handed me a card with a case number written in ink. Keep this, he said. When people call you and try to spin it, you stick to the case number. The next morning, Mila was arrested. Not in some dramatic handcuff theatrics way. It was paperwork, a brief booking, and a judge setting conditions. The charges were what you'd expect when facts stop being family issues and become a file, arson-related counts, and an identity/impersonation allegation tied to the insurance contact attempt. I didn't feel triumphant when I heard. I felt tired. Because I never wanted my sister in a holding cell. I wanted my house, my life, and the truth to be safe from her. 2 weeks later, when I met Marshall Klein in a temporary office trailer parked near my street, he showed me the finalized origin summary, simple language, clear conclusions, and the chain of custody list for the evidence they'd collected. He didn't editorialize. He didn't need to. Horizon Mutual lifted the hold on my claim under SIU supervision and issued the rebuild scope. They didn't hand me a miracle. They handed me a process. Approved contractors, staged remediation, structural assessment, and a timeline. My front door got a new smart lock. Not just a new code, an entirely new system installed by a licensed vendor. Every old code wiped. Every access event logged. Property records got a fraud alert flag added, too. Any future attempt to change mailing addresses or contacts would require in-person verification and a callback to me. And the clerk called it a pain, then said, it saves people. The door didn't just lock. It learned my name. Mila tried to send messages through relatives at first. Long paragraphs about betrayal, about Grandpa, about how I ruined her life. I didn't respond. My attorney filed a no-contact order request as part of the case conditions, and it was granted. Simple, direct, enforceable. That was the strange part. Once the system stepped in, the noise got quieter. Not because my sister became better, because consequences got real. The house will take time. Smoke damage doesn't care about timelines. So I'm rebuilding slowly, room by room, decision by decision, without pretending it's easy. But the one thing I have now that I didn't have at 2 a.m. is certainty. Not about family, about boundaries. If you woke up to smoke and someone showed up already calling it an accident, would you accept that, just to avoid a fight? Or would you let the record speak even if it tore the family story apart? Tell me what you'd do, and if you want more stories where evidence beats performance, hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.